All right, let's get right to it.
Yeah.
The number one what the happened play.
Right.
Of this week.
Yeah.
In Seattle.
Right.
Late third
Yep.
and 5. It's 2017. 60-yard touchdown pass, Russell Wilson to David Moore.
Yep.
Immediately, Xavier Rhodes was helping us by saying, "What the
Well, yeah, that's such a DB move, isn't it? You know, when they get
defensive back or
a little bit of both. DBs, I always love when they get burnt because when the receiver's running into the end zone, they
Such
always
a
try to
pet
peel
peeve.
away and like not be in
Throw
the
their hands
screen
up.
or turn around and like, where'd you guys go? You're supposed to help me out there. So I always get a kick out of that. I'm gonna pull up the play too.
Yes.
Just so we can both watch it together as we always do.
Yep.
I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. There was a communication, obviously, mishap there between him and Harrison Smith.
and also the free safety too.
Yeah, maybe. So this is where we're going to get into it. And I don't know exactly what to say here. So here it is. It's 3rd and 5, right? To me, and again, this is what I'm going to say before we start the snap, and then you tell me if you think this is what you agree with.
Okay.
What I think they're trying to do is play a cover 2 look. But they're trying to do what we would call invert cover 2. So this guy's going to go here to cover 2. Harris is in the middle of the field right now, making it look like he's a single safety.
And the ball's on the left hash.
Ball's on the left hash to the middle linebackers, what Minnesota always does. Barr and Michael Kendricks are right over the center like they might blitz. Harrison Smith is down to Russell Wilson's left, right? Also, Xavier Rhodes is on the left there, covering DJ Moore man-to-man. So what they're trying to do, because this is a very Mike Zimmer look, they're trying to make Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, hey, Harrison Smith's going to blitz. Oh, no,
but
we got to adjust.
On the line of scrimmage.
They're trying to make it look like it. They want him to adjust the pass protection to where now they're trying to pick up the free safety blitz, and maybe one of the guys that blitzes through the middle, the linebacker, comes scot-free now because you've slided out to the free safety blitz, right? If that makes sense. I hope it does to everybody out there. So they're basically trying to trick Seattle's protection a little bit, and then when the ball snapped, they basically are going to go, oh, it's not really a blitz look. And what I think they're supposed to do, I think Harrison Smith is basically trying to take the job of the cover 2 corner, right? And Xavier Rhodes somewhere got lost in translation that he needs to get back to be a cover 2 safety. Mm-hmm. He's almost switching his role. Usually Harrison Smith's the cover 2 safety, and Xavier Rhodes is the corner down there playing cover 2. Well, this is just a little change-up, and that's why, we'd call it two-switch. Two-switch, meaning the safety and the corner have switched their roles. But I think basically what happened is he never got the call. Like Xavier Rhodes, whether it was at the snap, and then Harrison Smith, to his fault too, as he walks down, he never looked out there to make sure Xavier Rhodes has the call. So, and if you remember seeing on TV at all, like they kind of hugged it out. Like
well, Rhodes went over to hug Smith. He didn't look like he was ready to hug.
No, you're right. Harrison Smith did not look like, which means to me, I don't know, what is that? What do you think that means, that he wasn't ready to hug?
I think he was probably well aware that Rhodes was looking back at him, calling him out.
Yeah, and going like, what the hell?
Because it wasn't like he threw up his hands for a second. I mean, he kind of made a production out of it.
Right. He definitely did. Now, and also, so is Harrison Smith mad at that, or is he mad at himself for not communicating more? That's the only thing. I'm just raising questions.
That's
I don't know.
the one thing that we don't know.
Right. We don't know. We don't know.
Who didn't communicate what?
Right.
Because if I'm Xavier Rhodes, there's no way I can be mad at Harrison Smith, because there's not a coverage in the history of football where a safety lines up on the line of scrimmage and will then help you over the top.
Yes, exactly
so,
right.
I mean, it's obvious that he is no help to you. I don't know what communication he missed out on.
You're right. I think the context, what we're basically saying is Xavier Rhodes, even with not getting the call, should have the context clues to go, wait, the guy that's the safety that's usually behind me is right to my left. Yes. And I shouldn't be playing 2 yards off and on the outside edge of the receiver at the snap, right? So to me, I think that's what happened.
And I also thought, take it back to the beginning.
Sure.
Here, I also thought that at the beginning of him being upset, that he was upset with the free safety because he's the only one that's beyond 10 yards off the ball for snap. But it becomes very obvious as Wilson takes the snap, he's no longer maybe in the middle of the field, maybe playing the middle third. He's playing that cover 2.
He's playing the cover to the other side.
He cheated way over there, so it was very apparent also that he was not going to be of help.
Yes.
So did two people not get the right call?
I don't think so. I think it's just Xavier Rhodes.
Exactly.
I do. Yeah, I totally do. And then when you watch it on film and see the end zone copy, he turns around as an Xavier Rhodes, and he looks back towards Harrison Smith here. So look, he's seeing he's raised his arm, but he looks back that way, because Harrison Smith is down there. And to me, for what the happened. It's Xavier Rhodes didn't get the call or didn't pay attention or whatever it is. The other point of the matter is Xavier Rhodes is just having a pitiful year. There's no other way to say it. You know, if anybody listened to Monday Night Football, the statistics of throwing at him and everything about it, he is no longer, and hasn't been really for the last 2 years, a top-tier corner. That's why Mike Zimmer came out in the offseason and said he needs to play better.
Right.
They're paying him like he's Jalen Ramsey or Stephon Gilmore, and he's not that. And if you want to know why the Minnesota Vikings defense is middle-of-the-road defense, it goes back to an old phrase, follow the money. And when the money's not performing to where it should be, then usually your defense or your team in that specific area is not going to be where it should be either.
Can they hide him by playing him in zone?
Well, they could, yes. They're a team that likes to play a lot of single safety, zone, and man. To me, I would just go bench him. You got Mike Hughes, who's a first-round pick from last year. You got Alexander McKenzie, who's a nickel back. You got Trey Waynes on the other side, who actually is phenomenal in coverage. You just can't make a play on the ball. He's always on the guy. He just can never seem to knock it down or do any of that. But, yeah, I just, how many times did we got to see it, before they just go, okay, he's hurting us more than he's helping us? That's what I would question there.
What did you think of the Seattle offense with Carson and Penny healthy?
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Looks really, really good.
Right?
It made me, as I'm watching it, I'm always watching with context of what you and I have talked about on this show in the weeks leading up to it. I don't know if it was a month ago or 2 months ago, but you were complimenting Russell Wilson, and you said, I just wish they would help him a little more because it's kind of like all him. But now with the formations they're running and how much they're running the ball, they're getting him under center in shotgun. I'm watching and wondering, is Chris thinking, yes, they are giving him the help I wanted him to have?
Definitely, 100%. And again, I'm not going to sit here and go like, oh, it's the most intricate passing schemes I've ever seen. But to what you're saying, the 2 running backs, the 6 offensive lineman sets are creative within the boundaries of how Seattle likes to play football, which is we're going to smash your face in with the run game, and then Russell Wilson's going to run some play action, some boots, and we're going to attack you deep downfield when he drops back to pass. That's what they do, right? You don't see a lot of 4 and 5 yard completions out of Seattle. It's like they either drop back really deep and he throws a screen, or they drop back really deep and he throws the ball really freaking deep.
Right.
That's kind of what they do. And that puts a lot of stresses on defense because their O-line is big, it's overpowering, it's well coached. That's Schottenheim, Brian Schottenheimer's, MO right there has always been run game. Even when he was up here with the New York Jets and the offensive coordinator, they were good at running the football. And Pete Carroll, that's what he wants to do. He wants to control the clock, beat you up physically, keep his defense off the field so they can run around like a bunch of psychos and be fresh. And then, hey, Russell, you'll make a few plays when you need to. And that's kind of how they live. And I think it's a great formula. And that's why they're in the upper class of football right now.
You mentioned using 6 offensive linemen. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see this along with us. Seahawks using 6 offensive linemen. The first 11 games, it didn't happen very often.
Right.
And now, week 13 against Minnesota. 32 times?
32 times.
Versus 9 in the first 11 games.
Yeah, it's phenomenal that they just went that drastic. I think two things. One, they started to realize, hey, this is pretty good for us. 6 offensive linemen. And then sometimes, they bring in another tight end, so it's 7 blockers across the board, and one's the extra tackle.
And they'll use a fullback as well.
And they'll use a fullback as well, right. So sometimes you just go, wow, okay, we got to load the box up because we're going to get overpowered here. But then it's, man, we're one-on-one with DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett on the outside.
By the way, had some really nice catches underneath.
Yes, he did, right?
Not like into the body, eat me up, just snag it.
Snag it. He can snag it. Him and Josh Gordon, that's their value there. And then, of course, DK can take you deep, too. But that's where Seattle's dangerous. Seattle, as compared to other years where I don't want to do discredit to, some of the Doug Baldwin and some of the receivers they had. They were really, Jermaine Kearse and his prime and all that. They were really good. I just think the group they have this year is more game breakers, more guys that are putting fear into a defense where you go, whoa, they're big, they're fast, they can really run, and they can run by us. And, of course, Russell's one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. But I love the 6 old lineman set. And I would think the other reason the last thing and what we can move on is Minnesota loves to play nickel. I mean, I don't know what their numbers are, and I don't know if Pete Dimalittis can look that up real quick, but I would bet you they are one of the league leaders just off the top of my head and watching football and playing nickel defense. They love to have Anthony Barr, Michael Kendricks, and then they have 5 DBs in the game, and it's the 4 O-linemen. And with this team, too, and you probably have heard me say this, with Minnesota, they don't have depth in their front seven. They don't have depth in their defense. To me, this is one of the big problems with them. And that's why if you look at Mike Zimmer's record as a coach, December's not always been a great month for him. 1, because I think they're not overly creative, and 2, I think they wear out. You know, they just, Everson Griffin and Daniel Hunter and Michael Kendricks and Barr, they're on the field every play of every game. It never ends. And Linval Joseph is in there like 90% of the game, too.
Yeah.
They don't have enough of a rotation. They're a little top-heavy in their payroll, and that's the one issue I've always had with Minnesota. And, you know, I fear that it can come back to bite them in the butt this year.
I want to, Pete, say that one more time. Minnesota uses nickel 74% of the time.
6th most in football? Fifth most. So there you go. Right. You know, I don't chart these things, but as you know, I watch a lot of football and usually have a pretty good feel. Right?
Yeah. I also want to say this about Seattle now that we're in December.
Right.
Russell Wilson warrants a lot of this talk about being an MVP.
Yeah.
But with this formula, you talked about the offensive line.
Right.
You showed the graphic. Both backs healthy. If
Yeah.
they're going to run the ball between 35 and 40 times a game.
Yeah.
To help him. And I looked this up, too, and we all know what happens in January. These are going to be close games that they're in, whether they win or lose.
Definitely.
9 of their 10 wins are one-score wins.
Isn't it amazing?
Or less. So they're running the ball well. The
Yep.
quarterback's an MVP candidate, and they are used to being in games that come right down to the fourth quarter.
They're battle-tested that way.
A team that's easy, and I'm not from there.
You're right.
I don't necessarily like them or hate them. I watch them, but that's a team that in January.
Yeah, they're scary.
Yeah.
They're fearless.
For every reason.
That's why you respect them. I mean, Russell's fearless in clutch situations. Pete Carroll, he walks around like an old man all week, but on Sunday, all of a sudden, he's got, hop in his step, and he's running around. And they demand fearlessness and physicality. And that's what's amazing about the NFC this year, because the top teams are killers. They're killers. They want to knock people's heads off, and that's where they are. And, I think they're better now than where they've really been all year long. Like, they are starting to hit their stride because the defenses seem to have found its mojo. And I'll say this, and their 2 losses, hey, if they got to play Baltimore again, I know Baltimore won 30-16. That game was closer than the score. They did one of the best jobs against Lamar Jackson all year in the quarterback design run game. Lamar Jackson ran for 100 yards in that game, but I would challenge anybody to go watch back. He scrambled on drop-back pass game twice. That was really his big runs. He probably got 80 to 90 yards on 2 runs, which were not design runs. It was scramble and make something happen. I thought against the design Baltimore run game, they did a very good job. And then let's not forget, their Saints loss, it was a punt return for a touchdown by the Saints. And when the game was still close, the Seattle Seahawks, I can't remember who it was, a receiver fumbled, and they picked it up and ran it for a touchdown. And Teddy Bridgewater's first start. So they won a game there that I think is not always a way where I go, you're going to win games like that on a weekly basis. That's all I'm saying. They're dangerous. We know that.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.